cardiac arrest? Okay, several of you. So you've all done CPR. So you know the real human side of this. I'd like now to introduce our very special guests. We have Jen and Rick Chapp. Rick is a cardiac arrest survivor. Was found gasping in the kitchen in February of 2012. And at the time, you guys were married roughly 20 years. I couldn't get an exact answer out of Rick. But roughly 20 years. And so they were gracious enough to join us this afternoon. And we're going to turn the floor over to them for the next 25 minutes. And then I'd like to leave some time at the end of this first hour for you all to ask questions if they come to mind. And Jen, Rick, please tell us. Take it away, and I'll get your slides ready.
Okay.
My turn?
Thank you. He's going to kick it off because I need to recover from listening to that.
I need to recover from that. That was a pretty dramatic 911 call. Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Chapp, and this is my wife, Jennifer. As Micah told you, I'm a SCA survivor. I arrested in February 27th of 2012. I had no symptoms whatsoever, and I'm going to kind of set up the stage as to what occurred that morning. It was Monday morning. Before I even get into that, I personally want to thank everybody who's participating in trying to raise awareness and move the needle for the save rates. Prior to my arrest, I knew nothing about SCA. I didn't even know what it meant. It wasn't even in my psyche in no shape, form, or way. And since then, it's become something of an interest. But anyhow, my wife and I, as I said, I was 56 years old, never had any symptoms. That's the picture of my clogged LAD she's putting up there. Had no symptoms, was an electrical contractor, and so I had a very physical type of lifestyle. It was at this particular Monday morning, my wife and I have a strategic marketing research company that we also operate out of our home. Jennifer was in her office. I was in another part of the house. I was making coffee. It was a really busy day, and SCA struck me. So what happened after that, I can't tell you. I've been told, but I do feel like it was a life-changing experience for us, and continues to be so. And I think I'm going to take a step back and let her tell you what occurred after that moment that I arrested. So here's the setup. We're at home. She's in her office. I'm in another part of the house. I arrest.
That's about it. So this is kind of where I guess I come into the picture a little bit. But the one thing that, to preface that, wanted to first ask or let you know that every survival story is unique and everything has to go perfectly right. And I say perfectly for a reason. It kind of all started with Rick's chain of survival, which has an extra link. And that extra link is actually a cat. I was in my home office with Buddy with the door closed when all this was happening. And like probably most of you, when you're on the phone with a client, you're busy, you're talking, you're so focused. But Buddy, thankfully, Buddy was relentless. Buddy actually was the first link because he alerted me. He started meowing and scratching, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but I wanted to introduce Buddy because he really was the first link of our chain. So essentially what happened next was, I like to say that all of this really is about memories for me and Rick. And everybody that is on the other side of the phone and in the hospitals and the fire departments, this is what it's all about. This is the why, I think. This is truly the why. You heard it on that phone call. The love for the people, the family, all the friends, all of the, future weddings, all of the future things that they have to experience. And so every year on Rick's rebirthday, we put together what we call memories that may not have been. And we kind of chronicle the previous year and put them together. And we always go and share that day with special people. So let me get back to the story, because that's really what you want to hear, but I just had to set the stage on that front. Okay, so I'm at home. It's February 27th, 2012. It's about 9:30 in the morning, and I'm in the office. I'm on the phone. Buddy's going crazy. He's relentless. He is really just trying to get my attention. And what I'd like to do at this point is switch over a little bit to a chronicle of kind of my reflections, because I like to write my reflections down. And so what I've done over the years, starting from when he was in the hospital to right now, is write a lot of stuff down. So I wanted to just go back, and I went back and looked at all of that, and I've kind of put together really maybe not quite as raw as the radio, the call that you just heard, but it's pretty raw to me even today, as you can tell. It's been 5 years. So if you would let me indulge, I'm going to just read this to you, because I think I can get through it in a much more cohesive way. So I woke up today on Rick's rebirthday from his sudden cardiac arrest that happened on 2/27/12. I walked into our kitchen and I just stared at the floor where it happened, and I wept. My feelings and memories are as visceral today as they were on the day it happened. As a wife and a lay rescuer, I experienced the most spiritual moment of my life. It changed me. It gave me both hope and nightmares. It caused me to want to be more in life in the time Rick and I have left. And from this experience, I came to understand the true meaning of gratitude. It's February 27th. I'm perturbed. I'm on a call in my home office with our business partners in Minnesota and a very important client. My precious cat Buddy is relentlessly meowing, scratching, and jumping to get my attention. Fortunately, he did. I carry my Buddy out of the room to regain peace and quiet, but I see just the top of Rick's head on the other side of the pass-through counter, and I hear some unearthly sounds coming from where he is. I walk in to the kitchen, and to my horror, I find the source of Buddy's concern. My beloved Rick is crumpled on the floor in an awkward position as if he had collapsed, and the counter kind of broke his fall, and he just kind of crumpled down the counter. His eyes were open, but he's unresponsive. They're glassy. He's just staring. His teeth kind of appear clenched. He's gasping for air, and it almost sounds like he's hissing on the kitchen floor. I can see he's urinated in his shorts. I don't know it yet, but he's having a sudden cardiac arrest. His heart's not beating. He's not breathing. He's clinically dead. I quickly hung up on my client. They have since forgiven me. I dial 911 and open a life-saving parallel universe. That's Kevin. Kevin is the dispatcher. A paralyzing fear strikes me like lightning. The jolt I first felt in my head as if each synapse fires in unison. The thunder that follows is the pounding of a heart. It's not his heart, it's my heart. I can't piece together what I'm seeing. And in these milliseconds, time stops, but somehow I know I can't. My fear swiftly transforms into realization and dread. And with outcome unknown, I just do. Like sunlight overtaking storm clouds, a higher power radiates around and within me, providing some sort of an undeniable steadiness. I don't exactly know where it came from. And I have help on the line to 911 to coach me through that. I said coach me through that for a really important reason. I'd never met this person, but at that moment, he was it. And we instantly became a team that morning. It's kind of a tough first date, really. Kevin Seeley is a longtime dispatcher from Orlando Fire Department 911 Communications Center. We are very fortunate that we live in Orlando. He was diagnostician, communicator, coach, lifesaver, and my hero at that morning. After all, the two of us were all Rick had, and our actions meant everything, or else there would be nothingness. Kevin worked quickly to get the facts and get help on the way. But there were endless questions. Are you alone? Is there an AED there? Do you have pets? I had no idea what all Kevin was doing on the other end of the line, but I later, when I met him, saw almost like a Rolodex of 911 protocols that he was flipping through. So I made a mental note, and I want to thank you guys, because thank goodness for some new protocols of no-go, because I would have cut my arm off to do what I needed to do to save this man. I remember probably yelling, I'm losing him. And with a matter of seconds, my Rick takes his last agonizing breath in my arms. I'm somehow calm. I find beauty in the fact that I'm here at this moment. I cradle his head in my arms. He's at peace. And if this is the end, I know he will be okay either way, and I'll be okay too. And with the stakes seemingly off the table, at least in my mind, I'm strengthened and just know what I must do. Hands only CPR. I tell Kevin I need to do CPR. Kevin immediately tells me what to do. It had been more than 20 years since my CPR class taught by an OFD fireman, but I knew the new protocol was chest compressions only to the beat of staying alive. My mind narrows and finds its focus. I breathe harder and faster as if to project it into my Rick below me. My heart, still pounding, powers my muscles, and a superhuman strength removes any limits I ever thought I had. And 225 pounds of dead weight, pardon the pun, is no problem to lift. In fact, I won't even remember it. Right now, I have one mission. I have one job. I must be Rick's pumping heart. And so I take a deep breath and begin. Kevin instructs me exactly where to press, how hard to press, how deep to press, how fast to press. And he says one more thing I'll never forget. He said calmly, you need to be prepared to do 600 compressions. And at that point, I thought I was going to have a cardiac arrest. He said, don't stop. Count out loud. I'll tell you when they are close, because I was alone. It was just the two of us and our cats. I was so afraid I might accidentally disconnect the phone. It was a landline. If I tried to put it on speaker, so I tucked it under my shoulder and began. I pushed hard and fast in the center of Rick's chest to the beat of Bee Gees' Staying Alive. a surrealistic musical trip through time when time is all that matters. My knees and feet are in this world where my head and heart and hands are in the space between heaven and earth. My body is wrought with determination to keep my soulmate in this world, if by God's grace. And within the spiritual realm, I feel the angels of my parents. Who in life are my source of advice, strength, and comfort. It seems crazy, but I know they are here with me, one on each shoulder, their calm, familiar voices in my head encouraging me. You know, one of the first questions that everybody asks Rick is, did you see the white light? And I like to say, I didn't let him get down that tunnel far enough, but in a way I think maybe I did, because I really felt them there with me. And then an absurd thought pops into my head. It helps that they were both in the medical field in life. My father a doctor, my mother his nurse. And they were part of the greatest generation falling in love in France during the Normandy invasion. A real love story. But there is no genetic marker for my task literally at hand. I push on. I know not how this will end. I just push on and on and on. There were some silences on the phone, and I asked, Kevin, are you still there? Are you there? Are you there? He was there with me the entire time. That was probably the most important thing. I was not alone. I cannot even find the words to tell you how important that is to coach somebody just like you heard on that phone call. We're alone, and it's life or death. I keep pushing. I don't give up, even when my own body seems to abandon my will. I push and push and push again. It seemed like forever, but I know it was merely minutes. I lost count after 300, but I didn't stop. And just when I think I can no longer be the heart of my precious Rick, help arrives. Kevin told me to go unlock the door and then come right back and continue CPR. And I did that. But when I got up to unlock the door, that I was doing it like this, I dropped the phone and somehow we got disconnected. But I did exactly what he said to do. I unlocked the door and came right back and continued. And this is where the rest of the chain comes in, and I have to share it with you because you'll hear one of the other things that is really important is for dispatchers to get the feedback, for everyone in the chain to get the feedback. And so I'm going to tell you the whole thing because it segues right into how we gave our dispatcher and others feedback in this incredibly miraculous chain of survival. From there, I'll never forget how Lieutenant Trent Johnston and his 6-man crew of Orlando Fire Station 6 Shift B entered our home and sprang into action, working in perfect harmony. Brian D'Annunzio takes over for me. We're all on first name basis now. He accidentally kicked the cat's bowl of water over, but he just recently told me that he was the one that did that. I back away. I watch in a faraway dream state while they carefully place their pads. I watch the movie play out before me. My head is cloudy, my vision blurred, I seem to float, I am silent. I pace. I watch them at work applying their pads. Rick is lifeless and blue-black. I pray. I question myself. Did I do it right? Did I do it hard enough? I bargain. Oh, please, God, don't let me have failed. I can't even open my eyes when they say clear to shock his heart with their AED. Zap. Then silence. I hear them say, we got a heartbeat. I open my eyes and seem to check yet another mental box of hope. Thank God. I watch as they intubate him, load him on a gurney, and bag him all the way to the ambulance waiting outside. The ambulance leaves quickly. I'm distraught on the porch. As a matter of fact, someone tells me that I practically collapsed. I was exhausted. I didn't know what had happened. I just didn't know. A couple of firemen stay to clean up, and they're just so very kind to me. Lieutenant Johnston takes me gently by the shoulders, looks alive but critical. I'm told he will be in ICU, his outcome unknown, and that the next 24 hours will be telling. Hours pass. The next time I see my Rick, he's hooked up to incredible contraptions in ICU. He is cold to the touch, in a coma, on a respirator, on life support, but he's alive. His body has been placed in therapeutic hypothermia to cool and protect his brain. Now my job is to push myself through this with family, friends, doctors, nurses, and clergy from all faiths on my side. I wrap a rosary in Rick's hand, and I sing the Besha Berach, Jewish prayer of healing, because he's Catholic and I'm Jewish. But we welcome all prayers from all faiths at this time. The tubes, constant beeps, and glowing monitors remind me he is alive and fighting, and I must too. I'm strong, stronger than I realize, but I dare not Google, not yet, maybe never. The next day, I become friends with a woman around my own age in the ICU waiting area, which is the gathering spot for all of us in this situation. We all queue up at the same time, awaiting our precious time with our beloveds. She's far from home. Her husband's fighting back from a stroke suffered while they were in Orlando on vacation. And so the happiest place on earth becomes the fight of a lifetime for them. Together, we support each other. And I also find comfort in learning the stories of others in ICU waiting that I see every day. And each of them with their own imaginable tales. And I believe my own strength helps others. There's something that happens to you when this happens. You just kind of transform into this gooey gratitude. I don't know. Just it's unbelievable, the transformation. My sister is with me. She flew down within hours, because I don't have any family in Orlando. She flew down, though, within hours to be by my side, and she was there for 2 weeks with us. And we also had support from friends, business colleagues, clients, and help from afar. And I see the absolute best in everyone around me. From the doctors and nurses to the coffee cookie lady to someone that simply holds the elevator open for me. And once again, I experience a spiritual shift that touches my very soul. This is true life. This is humanity. On day 3 and 4, my beloved begins to awaken slowly. I'm reminded of a newborn emerging from the world. From opening his eyes and looking around, just wondering what's going on. He's still intubated. He reacts to pain eventually, and with the pinch of a nurse, his beautiful hand recoils and a furrowed brow appears on his face. I stay by his side as long as they will let me. And late that night, and still intubated, at last Rick communicates with a not so nice hand gesture, yet perfect in my eyes, bird finger. He's responding to his brother's joke. And the nurse that was by his side said, we all just kind of cheered, and we said, do you know what it takes for somebody to move their arm, bend it up, and form that and communicate? So we all said, yes, he's in there. And I actually belly laughed and was elevated beyond the stars. It's raining as I leave the hospital that night, and I believe it's the tears of guardian angels. I had faith from the get-go, and I continue to have faith. I never doubted this moment, but was willing to accept a more likely outcome. So I cried tears of pure joy. And the next day, this happened. This is what he did the minute he came, the minute I saw him. He remembered who I was. I like to call it first kiss, because really this is a new beginning. And that's him smiling. He doesn't remember any of that, but he he came back to us. He came back to us. And with that life after SCA begins. Now it's been 5 years, and from that fateful day, and we're incredibly grateful for Rick's miraculous outcome. And as you all know, he had less than a 10% chance of survival, and even less to have a complete, brain function that he has, because most don't have that outcome. And the other thing about his heart that he didn't tell you in the beginning is that when he went to the cath lab, this is important to this room, I think. When he went to the cath lab, and his cardiologist was telling me that, well, his right side is completely blocked. And I'm like, oh no, what does that mean? He said, well, no, he's got collateral veining. Somewhere over the past 10 years, his body just kind of formed veining to the other side. So he has a natural bypass. So when his LAD became blocked, that's really what sent him right into cardiac arrest. But I had no idea what that meant. I thought, oh, does that mean he has to go to open heart surgery? But he said, no, he's got a great thing. And he has a really, really strong heart and a big heart. But the journey post-SCA is not easy for either one of us. And in ways, we're both very different people. Only those who've walked in our shoes can really understand that we grieve the loss of security in what was, but at the same time, we have so much more in our lives to be grateful for, just so much more. Still, there are scary moments, false alarms, ER visits even now. And as I write this, my heart's pounding. And as I read this, I assure you my heart's pounding. I still battle PTSD and the what-ifs that plague my psyche. Rick, like most SCA survivors we now call family, has his own internal battles that even I can never know, just as he can never fully know mine. But I must admit, I'm a little angry too, that I didn't know more about what this was before it happened. And why didn't I? And I vowed to use our skills in our normal lives in consumer research and marketing to find out how many more others are out there like me, and how can we engage the general public to learn CPR and to act. Through it all, we are hand in hand. His struggle's my struggle, and my struggle's his. And we push today just as we pushed on that day on the kitchen floor. And our message is simple. The life you save may be someone you love, and TCPR works. He's living proof.
We weren't done.
That was just an interim applause.
Do we have time to share kind of life after, or do we need to stop?
We're at about 12:40 now, so maybe just a couple more minutes, because I'd like to leave a little bit of time for questions.
Okay, we'll speed through this. It'll go fast. This is just kind of.
What do you?
Go ahead.
You're in control. You're always in control.
Well.
Yes, sir.
Any idea of how long you were down before you got there?
10 minutes.
10 minutes before you got there?
No.
Oh, before she got there?
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes from the time I called till they shocked him.
Right.
But I don't think it was very long, because he was still agonal breathing.
Okay.
Yeah, he was hissing, he was gasping. He was not blue when I found him, so it must have just happened.
I turned blue for you.
But
Maybe.
but after this all happened, and we'll just summarize, is that we've really tried. What we learned is that it's really important for people like us to take what happened to us and help improve save rates. And we have tried to do that with lots of things, starting very early on, and it's been 5 years now. One of the first things that we had to do was go back and thank all these people that made this happen. And we did that. We went to the fire department, we spoke with them, we met all of them, brought them cookies. We spent time with Kevin at the dispatcher center, and we learned exactly what happens, and that's where we saw the Rolodex cards and went, wow, no wonder. It was a long time before I, was told, got on his chest. And there's Kevin at the dispatcher. And we also did something really kind of interesting. About 6 months after that happened, we had the opportunity to go see all the folks at the hospital for that part of the chain of survival. Let's see if we get this to go. There we go. And this was great because we actually went to every single place in the hospital. They gave us, they called it a reunion tour. And they took us everywhere he went, from the ER to ICU to the step-down heart unit, to even folks from the cath lab, and ended up at cardiac rehab. Which, do you want to just say just a couple things about cardiac rehab, Rick?
Cardiac rehab's good.
It was a really important part of the recovery. So I'll close it with this, and that is really my message to 911 dispatchers. The stakes are high. Dispatchers are the faceless heroes that often can make a difference between life and death. And really, it's important that the gratitude and how much we feel for these people comes through. Secondly, the feedback loop is essential. There's a reason that the best teams watch videos after the game as a team, right? They watch, the coach watches, the team watches, and really, coach and player. That's really what Kevin and I were that day. I felt it. I mean, it works.
Question?
Yes, sir.
When you say feedback loop, what exactly you mean by feedback loop?
I think it's really important because they're unsung heroes. The dispatchers, they don't know what happens. You hang up the phone and there they are. They've just gone through a traumatic event. Did he live? Did he die? What happened? I can't tell you. When we met with Kevin, the dispatcher, and we went over with cookies and treats and we wanted to meet him personally, it makes a difference. It makes a difference for them to see proof that for every 9 people they lose, maybe, there's a Rick. And we want more Ricks. And it gives them, I think it gives them hope that they're doing the right thing. And so that's the feedback loop. And it extends for the entire chain of survival. I like to call it the chain of survival turns into the circle of survival, because if people like us that go through this, if we go full circle and we come out and then we do kind of the things that we're doing where we're meeting with people, we're here at this conference, we're trying to pay it forward and use our learnings to help others, then our goal is hopefully that as a survivor and a lay rescuer that we're pushing more people into that funnel to be lay rescuers so that there'll be more Ricks down the stream. So it's really that whole circle that we like to talk about. It doesn't end with the chain of survival, is what I'm trying to say. Do you want to add?
I'd like to answer a question. The question is, why am I here? Why did I survive? And the short answer on that is, I'm here because of the efforts of others, and part of that, and I'm really grateful and fortunate that I was arrested. I arrested in a community that recognized the importance of being prepared to handle cardiac arrest. And part of that preparedness by my community was the medical, the 911 operator, and how critical he became in my survival, not only my survival, but my good survival. And we don't only want to save people, but we want them to come out with good neurological outcomes. So, that's what I wanted to say. It's very critical. 911 operators are like, Jennifer keeps saying, stole my line, that they are the unsung heroes, and they are the behind-the-scene guys. And we know from interactions with them that how important it is for them to get the feedback, not only for them, but for the medical community and the first responders.
And for us too.
Yeah.
Because we have to heal. We're healing. We're still healing after this. So that's it.